This is one of those repairs you'd want to fix immediately if this happens to your Protege. It's where the servo for the blend door stops working and gets stuck taking in fresh air. If you live in a hot climate, this can be absolutely horrible because the AC does not get as cold. Not such a big deal at nighttime when it's cooler outside or if it's raining during the day, but if it's one of those humid scorchers, you're really going to suffer. Other time it sucks to not have this working is when driving behind an old Chevy pickup truck that has a carbureted engine with no catalytic converters. Or some idiot is smoking marijuana behind the wheel of a car and they're up ahead of you, making the interior of your car smell like a skunk. I really dislike the smell of marijuana. Or worst of all, you drive by a dead animal and you get a strong whiff of death. God, that sucks. Anyway, to do this repair, you must remove the AC evaporator core to get to the servo. There's no shortcuts on this one. Lord knows I tried. The good news is that the dashboard on this car doesn't have to be removed to get the evaporator out, but the removal of the glove box and the glove block frame is required. If you don't have access to a refrigerant recovery machine, you may have to go have the system evacuated and the refrigerant recovered before attempting this repair. Don't let refrigerant escape into the atmosphere. Once you get the refrigerant out of the system, you'll need to remove the AC lines connecting to the evaporator core. You'll need a quick disconnect tool to insert into the line fastener. Once inserted, twist the line back and forth while pulling to release the spring lock. The other line is simply fastened by a nut and a threaded tube. When the lines are free, move back inside the vehicle to remove the evaporator core fasteners, which in this case are some 10mm nuts. You'll then need to unplug the evaporator core temp sensor and unplug the blower fan resistor. Then simply pull the evaporator box straight backwards and remove it from the vehicle. Here I'm running a quick function test on the new servo. The reason for this is to check to see if it is working properly before installing it. Selecting fresh air or recirculate with a single push of a button activates the servo. You can see the arm of the servo wipe back and forth, ensuring it works as designed. To remove the servo, you'll need to unscrew the 3 Phillips screws holding it to the right side of the evaporator box. These are in a very tight spot, so feel free to mumble F-bombs during removal. This is the same test but with the old frozen servo. You can see the wiper arm does not move at all. It's done. This next step is one you should do while you're in there. When I pulled out the evaporator, I noticed the core was covered with leaves, debris, and dust from years of accumulation. This is the downside of the Protege not being equipped with a cabin filter. Dirt, dust, and debris can be the cause of the musky smell when turning the AC on in some cars. So I decided to disassemble the housing and clean up the core. Cleaning the core is fairly easy. I simply used cold water under slight pressure to rid the cooling fans of dirt and leaves, and dried it with compressed air. The housing can be cleaned with chemicals that get rid of mold, or just use soap and water. When done, the core will be able to breathe again and should make for a colder AC. You would then reassemble, as this is the reverse of disassembly. I took the liberty to modify the drain, as you can see, with a 3-inch clear plastic tubing. I did this to direct the dripping water away from the wiring harness that rests on the firewall in the engine bay. This should help stop any electrical issues that form from wet wire corrosion. Back under the dash is where the difficulty is. Putting in the first bolt for the servo is fairly easy, but the two in the rear will have you dropping F-bombs. It looked easy on camera, just wait until you have to do it. Once the servo is plugged in, I'm going to run a few cycles from different angles so you can see the blend door moving. Needless to say, but when operating properly, the door blocks fresh air from entering the evap core by recirculating the cooled air in the cabin. When in fresh air mode, the door allows outside air to enter the core, and thus it reaches inside the cabin. Now the time comes to reinstall the core. Align the drip tube and the two lines of the core with the corresponding orifice in the firewall. Push forward and bolt it in. Don't forget to plug in the evaporator temp sensor and the fan resistor. Then comes the glove box frame and the glove box, and that's it for the interior work. In the engine bay, you'll need to complete the follow-up work by connecting the HC lines. Be sure to replace the O-ring seals on these lines or the system will leak refrigerant. When connecting the large low side line, be sure to twist the line while applying forward pressure to ensure the spring lock adequately seats and locks into place. Once everything is connected, you'll need to connect the system to an AC machine to vacuum the system down and check for leaks. Once you determine that the system is leak-free, charge the AC system. In my Protege, I was normally able to charge the system to 1 pound and 6 to 8 ounces, as I have found this charge to give the coldest AC. Anything below that or above that and the AC is not as cold, or at least in my car that has been my experience. Now again, should you not have access to this machine, you can use a handheld vacuum pump and charge the car with refrigerant charge kit from the local parts store, or have the system vacuumed and charged at your local repair shop. Alright, so that wraps up this repair for this video. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Click the like button, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.